and hear you.
Sitting a long time road. You heard me? You heard me? He said he's on Longtown Road. He said he's on Longtown Road. He's still gonna go there. I'm still start
I
out.
just said that.
Yeah. What is it? I can't. Michelle, Renee, Tony, what's going on? Teresa, what's happening? Hey, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to episode number 9 of Get Hooked Live. As always, I got my man Hefley here with me in the background, doing the thing behind the scenes. So again, Hef, thank you for everything you do week in and week out. All right, so Miyoka, what's going on? All right, so guys, tonight's episode is entitled "Bad Parenting versus Delinquent Children." And really the premise is how much blame should parents have, or how much responsibility should they take for the actions of their children. So before we get into the subject material, tonight's episode is going to be sponsored by Nay Mazing Creations, whose owner and sole proprietor is Nayoka Fanning. You can look her up on Instagram at Nay Mazing Creations. Also, you can look her up on Facebook. She's actually a consistent contributor to what we do here at Get Hooked Live. So, Nay, if you're tuned in, make sure that you put your information in the comment section so the people can look you up. And fellas, I'll go ahead and give you full disclosure. I know she's cute and all, but I don't need you guys inside her DMs or inside her inbox unless you're trying to get a haircut. All right, because she certainly does her thing with the Clippers. So again, look her up, and I love you too, Nay. Look her up and make sure that you support black business. All right, guys. So again, we'll go ahead and get into the subject at hand. And in the interest of full disclosure, what I will tell everyone is that this really stemmed from a post earlier this week. For those of you who don't know, many of you know, but for those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in Allendale County, Allendale, South Carolina. And there's no secret, or it's no secret that there's a lot of violence that's been plaguing the area here in recent years. It's an environment that I grew up in. It's an environment that many of you guys who are tuned in also grew up in. But again, so the really, and I think Darrell Gray posted. He actually posted the comments, but there were a lot of back and forth about how much blame should the parents bear. Should they be held in any way, shape, or form responsible for the actions of their kids? They provide for their children, put food on the table, give them a roof over their head, and they instill their values in them, supposedly in some cases. But they instill these values in them, but then, when the kids go out and they do things that they were not necessarily raised to do, who's truly at fault? Who's truly at blame? So again, that's something that's it's a really touchy subject, and I really want to hear from any parent, or really non-parent, anyone who has experienced this, because the young guy that actually got killed, he's actually a relative of mine. It's the violence, it's crazy down there. I'll go ahead and admit it, but the fact is like, who bears the brunt of what's going on? Should it be primarily based on the parents, or how much blame should the parents have, and at what point do we actually hold those children accountable? But again, guys, I really want to hear from all the parents, simply because I'm a parent, but my daughter is 7 years old. So obviously, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm actually, she's actually in the streets or doing things, or we're at a point right now in her life that we can monitor what she actually does. But I really can't speak on, I really can't speak on how a parent who is in that position, who has a kid who's in their preteens or teens, or really even into young adulthood, who actually goes out and does some things that go against what they were actually raised to do. But again, make sure you keep the comments coming in. Make sure that you like the post. Make sure that you comment on the post, and most importantly, make sure that you share the post as well. I think it's an extremely important topic, and I want to ensure that it touches as many people as possible. And Carlos is starting already talking about Allendale goes hard in the paint. Yeah, we do. So hey, don't fuck with us. That's what we do. Just kidding. All right. So the first comment of the night is actually from Derek Fitz, and Derek and I actually went to high school together. So he hails from Allendale, so he knows a little bit of what I'm actually talking about. And Derek says that it's 90% is parenting. He also says that there are definitely instances where the child's actions are not a representative of how they were raised. And you made really two really good points, Derek. And again, thank you for joining, thank you for commenting. But the points you make were, one, you said it's 90% parenting. Personally, I do believe that it all starts in the household. I believe that it's up to us as parents and those who are or guardians or those who are charged or tasked with raising these kids, to instill those values in them. And again, while I do understand that there are going to be certain cases, certain times where children are going to go against the grain, but I think it certainly begins with actual parenting. And you also said, Derek, that the child's actions are not representative of what they were raised. I mean, as children, we oftentimes we've all done things that go against what our parents raised us to do and the beliefs that they actually instilled in us. But once again, it's how much blame, who's really to blame? Derek, in your case, you said it's 90% parenting. So I guess my question to you, and you can feel free to reply, would be that at what point do we begin holding the children accountable? If a parent goes out and they do every single thing they can to instill these beliefs in their children, at what point do we hold these kids accountable? All right, Tony, thank you for joining, Tony. Tony says, it depends if the child is a habitual offender or not. If the parents ignore the problem, then they need to be punished. Absolutely, because essentially, Tony, you made a really good point. If it's something they're constantly doing, if it's something that they're if it's something that they're constantly doing, if it becomes habit, then it is what it is. And I know you guys hear some chatter going on in the background, so my guest finally made it in. Go ahead, man. in the room, I get in a second. Slide on over, man.
Oh yeah.
Got to get in the shot of the camera, man.
Okay.
All right, so guys, this is my guest tonight, Clifford Chisholm. He's actually from Allendale as well. And the reason I wanted to bring Cliff on, he reached out to me earlier in the week, and I wanted to bring him on simply because we both come from the same location. We both grew up, around each other and together. And he called me early in the week, and he admitted that he did some things growing up, and that his parents raised him to do things that his parents didn't necessarily raise him to do, but he went out and did them anyway. So, Cliff, I want to ask you. You said when we talked earlier in the week, you said that your parents raised you your parents put food on the table. Mm-hmm. They raised you to do the right thing. But the thing you admitted was that you went out and you did things behind their back. You made decisions anyway.
Yes.
So what kind of led you to do that?
I was a little curious about a lot of things, and then at the same time, when a parent's like giving you these rules to do, it's right. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you got this temptation out there in the street that draws you. So you trying to figure out a way to get out there and be a part of it because you're missing out because of your friends. Mm-hmm. And so that one reason what drew me out. And then once I got out there, I kept doing it. Even though my mom would say, don't do this, don't do that, put me on punishment, beat me, anything there was, I would go right back to it.
Okay. And so they punished you.
Yes.
So you got whooped, you got beatings.
Yeah.
They grounded you or whatever, but you still went out and did it.
I still went out.
Now, was it peer pressure? Was it what kind of you went out, you did something. Mm-hmm. You got home, you got punished for it. Mm-hmm. But then you went out the next day and did the same thing. What kind of drew you to do that though?
I was connected.
Okay.
To the trouble and to the life of the street. It's not easy to say no because temptation is so great. And the more I fought against it, the more I tried, the more I try to obey my parents. Mm-hmm. At the same time, the more I want to go out there and do it. Mm-hmm.
And Derek Fitz, he commented just a second ago. He's from Allendale as well. We all went to school together. Mm-hmm. And he made a comment just now. He said BMX. So tell the people about BMX.
BMX was a small town gang called Black Man Execution. And we went around fighting people, shooting. We did just what's going on today. And we didn't listen. We didn't care what the parents say, what the law say. We was above the law. So if anybody experienced it, they knew that, if you got caught slipping, you would jump, you were shot, you were hospitalized. That would be BMX was representing. We had bicycles.
I remember.
Yeah, we rode bicycles. We ran. We did it all. I ended up getting shot 4 times in that game, and I was one of the ones that they say was the leader, but I wasn't a leader. I was just determined. I didn't care. You had to call Cliff Chisholm name. You had to fight. Mm-hmm. You had to pull your gun. You had to shoot to kill. Mm-hmm. And so that's what BMX did for me. It brought a lot of trouble into my life, and then people started disrespecting me and not caring for me because I was so troubled. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted to have this interview, because when I look at these young men today, and I'm like, wow, I can see myself.
Right.
And I see people saying parents, do this, do that, they need to do this. And then they say about the officer, the mayor, the town administrator. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you this here, they doing everything they can. It's us. It's the person like me out there that's doing the fighting, the game banging, the pulling the trigger. So that's why I'm here tonight trying to encourage every town, the CSRA, to let's come together, help some of these lost souls, because I was one of those one day.
Right. So let me ask you, because obviously you've done a complete turnaround. Complete 180, right?
Amen.
And every time we talk, you always give credit to the man upstairs, for turning you around. So what happened in your life? What happened to make you realize that, what, there's got to be a better way?
I started experiencing good people. I started being around them and listening to them. They will always be in my ears about, don't fight, don't shoot, don't do this, stop dealing with the trouble. And I started listening. Mm-hmm. I had some friends from school and the neighborhood, they accepted me.
Right.
And Thomas Cohen's, God bless the dead, James Rouse, we call him Rocky. They spoke, and what they spoke to me started registering to me. I started listening. I started wanting to change. And I seen that one time I was at this nightclub we had, and I didn't want to fight.
Right.
And I was picked on, and everybody's like, "What you gonna do?" I didn't want to fight because I started receiving that good message that I was getting, and I was looking at some of my friends that we played basketball together, football together,
Right.
two-hand touch,
Right.
you know, and I was like, man, how could they do it?
Right.
If they can do it, I can do
Right.
it.
And we, when we spoke the other day, we talked about because I heard stories about you on the football field. You know, it said you had game, and we talked about, you know, one of our mutual friends who went to Clemson, all-time leading rusher, Raymond Priester.
Yes.
Shout out to you, Pre. Led Clemson in rushing, and you guys actually played Pee Wee football together.
Oh, yes.
And you said that it bothered you.
Oh,
you know, obviously
yeah.
you were happy for him when he
Yeah.
made it, but you realized that could have been you.
That could have been me.
Right.
Yes. Yes. And that ate me up, and that's another reason why I'm here, because we're losing a lot of souls here through standing up talking, saying they need to do that, their parent need to do that. No, we got to stand up for these kids, these young men, because a lot of them lost,
Right.
and they got potential.
Right.
But because we stand here and look and say, you know, that ain't my child, or my child wouldn't do that,
Right.
or your child would. I promise you it would.
Right.
I promise you.
Right. You know, parents always say, "Hey, not my child."
Okay.
Fact is, and we were talking earlier, and I made a comment that, you know, we all did things. It's different levels. Like, you know, I never went out and, you know, I never held a gun, fired a gun, or anything. But I went out and did things that my mom raised me not to do.
Oh, yeah.
So kids are, in some cases, they're gonna do things, you know, against the grain of what they were raised to do.
Amen.
So we're gonna go ahead and get to some of these comments. First question. First is from Mario Harley. Mario says, I was raised by wonderful parents, but it was my decision to do wrong. My parents always taught me right from wrong, so kids have to make a decision from right and wrong. And they kind of went against what we were talking about, or kind of goes with what we talked about before. The fact is like parents sit here and raise you, and, you know, they instill these values in you, and they tell you, don't go out and do that, don't go out and do this, but, you know, we get around friends who are doing some of the similar things.
Yes.
So now we don't want to seem like the weak link. Peer pressure is there, you know, and, you know, so we go out and we do these things, but the fact is, you know, and I really want to get into it because on Darrell's post the other day, he was, you know, a lot of people, I know parents caught a lot of the blame, and I know that the foundation starts at home. I mean, I know we have some horrible parents out there, but we have some really good parents who have some, and, you know, truth be told, have some not so good kids, but I mean, sometimes it does indeed happen. Teresa Derrick, Teresa, thank you for joining. Teresa says, working in the public school sector, it really is a mixture in some instances. But parents who are not a two-parent household make it really hard when they are influenced by the students at school or gangs.
Amen.
So let's talk about that for a second. We talk about two-parent households. So both your mom and your dad were in home with you.
For a period of time, and then they got a divorce of 16 years, and that's when I felt I had to be the man.
Okay.
And when I stepped up, being the man, not knowing how to be the man, I went through so many different challenges. You know, I gang bang, I robbed, I sold drugs, I had to go through that. And when a broken home, it's going to be a broken soul.
Right.
It's never going to be, you know, successful. And, you know, you have to go through it. I'm telling you, learning to be a man to a father, that was a challenge for me.
Right.
And, you know, people gave me, I've been through drug selling, gang banging, womanizing, because when my father moved out, it wasn't that man there to say, love one.
Right.
You know, that father wasn't there to say, son, that right there is bad.
Right.
So when I talk to my kids, I give them life. This is what dad been through. If anything about what I've been through, you see it and got Clifford Chisholm name on it, don't touch it.
Right.
That's life.
Right, exactly. And, you know, and let's talk about your, like, because I know you got a twin. You had a twin,
yes.
Clinton, the twin brother who
yes.
passed away a few years ago. God bless the dead. I know you got your sister Leslie. You know, now it's only you three, right? Or
no, it was 5 of us.
5 of you.
Yeah,
and where did you fall? Like, were you the oldest, youngest, or?
I was the third oldest.
Third oldest. But when your dad moved out, you had to assume you took that leadership role.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think that means a lot simply because I know when with me, I was raised in a single parent home. Like, it was only my mom there. But I had my brother who's 6 years older than me, so I didn't have to assume that role as the man. I never had to be the one I never had to make the tough decisions. I never had to worry about, putting food on the table. That was all my brother.
Yes.
And the different dynamic is, you had to find a way to make sure your family was okay.
Yes.
So obviously parenting and you're a father, I'm a father. Harold, I know you're a father, and I can't stress the importance of having a black father. Whether they're in the home or outside the home, whatever the case may be, we matter, and these kids need us.
That's right.
All right. So Naoka is agreeing with Mario. She says, no matter how our parents raise us, we eventually get to points where we go on off the path and. Off the path that was given to us. So definitely, and we kind of touched on that earlier, Naoka, simply because oftentimes, our parents instill these values within us, but the fact is like we go out and, our friends are doing it and we feel the need to try to fit in at times. But again, as parents, I know you want to continuously reemphasize what you should and shouldn't do, but the fact is sometimes we go against the grain. Vivian Riley, Viv is also from Allendale. And Vivian is agreeing with Cliff. She said, some kids are just determined no matter what you do as a parent, these kids lie, they play us for fools. And we as parents don't want to believe or even accept that our kids are really doing these things. Yeah. All right, so kind of touch on that a little bit. So when we hear Cliff name, we knew that it was
gang
banging or something, right? So how did your parents, what were those conversations like when you talked to your parents?
My mom, I remember a story. My mom walked up. I was in the hospital bed. She got a phone call. I'd been shot 4 times. I'm laying in the bed, and I had like dreads hanging over. I had some braids in my head, and one of them was laying over my face. And she was speechless because she was like, not knowing I was gonna die or what. And I looked at her and I was like, Mom, I'm all right. And she said, "You so hard headed." She was like, "Wow, every time I turn my back, you're doing something." I'm talking about. I was like, "Mom, I'm trying." She's like, "No, you're not. You're doing the wrong thing." She's like, "Get a job. You don't want to go to school. You don't want to be successful. Get a job. Try something different." And I tried that. I went and got a job making $4.25 an hour. I was working in a grocery store, working on the mill, lumber mill in Fairfax. And I was like, all my friends, Mom, they're going to school, getting a high school diploma, college degree, and I'm getting behind. She's like, well, go back to school. You're giving up on life. No one else making you do it. You know right from wrong. So I know the conversation every day, every night, laying on the side of her leg, she talking to me. She would tell me when no Christmas and no school clothes and no bills being paid. She always shared that with us. Like, money tight right now, so we got to do this. So that's what made me really kind of like, I got to get a grip on this thing. Right. So I went from gang banging to drug selling because I needed that money. I needed that fast money. I'm a great athlete on the football field, but I ain't got time for it because the money's too slow. So, she there talking about that. I'm hiding it out the door, hiding it around the house, and she's like, you can't do it that way. Always in my ear, but I'm still making bad choices.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it, man.
So let me ask. What's up? Let me ask. Like you said, the vision of laying next to your mom and everything. What's the one thing that really that was the change?
The change for getting better?
Yeah.
I was introduced to Christ. I'd never been to church. I never knew about, getting baptized. And she took me to a church in Allendale called Simpson, United Methodist Church. I think that's what it is.
Shout out to Simpson.
Yes. And they baptized me and it cleaned me up. And, that was my journey from there. Starting to clean it up and starting hang around my positive friend, Jamie Washington. Thank you.
Shout out, Rim.
Thank you.
You better be watching, too.
Yes. Ones like that, Joe Owens, Eric Doctor, Kennedy Park, all of them.
So it sounds like what you're saying is your circle changed a little bit.
Yeah.
From from the BMX guys and and I knew a lot of those guys that were in BMX, and now you got you mentioned Eric, you mentioned Jamie, you mentioned Bubba Joe. So your circle changed a little bit. So would you? I guess it's safe to say sometimes you represent what you're around mostly.
Yes, that's right. Right. Amen.
Yeah.
And I know when we
company you keep.
Yes.
Yes.
When
real.
when we spoke the other day, you brought up something that I don't even remember. You said you came up here visiting one night, and we walked the Wild Wings, and you said Dwayne had a tab, and Jamie had a tab, and Free had a tab, and you see him wondering like,
what is the tab?
What the hell is the tab?
You know right? Straight from the street. I'm from the same city, but huh? So I'm like, what is this? So, they explained it to me. It's like, man, we don't tote our money no more. We save it in the bank. We start using bank cards. And I was like, wow. And now I'm an entrepreneur now.
There you go.
There you go. Hey, start saving that money. I said, wow, man, now I don't look down on the friends that I have. I love them like brothers.
Absolutely,
right now.
You should.
From where I'm from, BMX, we still represent that as in a positive way now.
Right.
So, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want Bull Harley, and I ain't gonna call everybody name, but 9 times out of 10, everybody know him. So,
and I guess that's a weird thing, man, because like, and you mentioned Bull and you, man, it's like people would say things about y'all, and I'm sitting here like, don't can't be the same guys I know, because whenever I saw y'all, it was all love. We talked, we dabbed up, we laughed, joked, and
because you was the positive friend, man. Right. We had to keep you on our team. Couldn't lose you, man. Couldn't lose you. No, you were hooked. We couldn't lose you. You know what I'm saying? So we had to keep that positive friend on our team.
Definitely. Yeah. And I just didn't see it, so that's why when I heard things, I'm like, well, and that's why you really have to get to know people and judge people for yourself, because sometimes you're guilty by association. Because I know that there are bad apples, and sometimes you're associated with people who aren't, necessarily seen in a positive light, and because you're cool with them, you looked at the same. All right, so Paulette Jones. Paulette brings up a very good point. Paulette says,
"What's up, cuz?"
She says, "Children have more influences today than in the past. We have to keep sending them positive words of encouragement and guidance." So we talk about influences, and you and I kind of talked about it the other day with, because I mentioned earlier that the guy, Jawad, the guy that got shot, he is actually a cousin of mine, right? And you mentioned that, like, we talked about, like, what message can we get across to these kids to we know they come from good homes. I know Jawad came from a good home, but the fact is, there's still some influences out there. So, and we talked about, early, when you and I spoke early in the week, we talked about, like, I've never held a gun, I've never fired a gun, I've never been shot. I've been around shooting, I haven't shot at directly. I've never shot at anybody. So how can I talk about experience? How can I go tell somebody who has a gun to put the gun down when I never picked one up? You ain't
gonna be able to do it. You ain't gonna be able to talk to them. Experience represents industry. If you never experience it, you can't talk. You can't say anything. Right now, that's why I encourage people to come out September the 4th, and let's put together a fun day of just fellowshipping with some of these lost souls, because they ain't looking for preaching. They ain't looking for the police. They ain't looking for the town administrator. They ain't looking for the mayor. They're looking for us. See, if you want me to do something, you got to show me.
Right.
Action speaks louder than words. You can't just keep telling me that, put that gun down. I love my gun. I love being a gangbanger. So you can't take that away from me just talking. You got to show me something different.
Yeah, that's what you are.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm asking. Today, that's why I'm stepping up, because I want these young men, not kids. They from 12 to 35 toting these guns. So I'm telling them that I've been through this. I've been through the storm for you. I've been shot for you. I've been incarcerated for you. I've been beaten for you. So I'm that OG that you ain't got to go through none of this no more. You can give up any day now. Because like God, he got beat, tortured for us. And I went through it for y'all. And I thank God for appointing me to this here. Because it's in the fact that I want to help some souls. I want to save some. There's some families out here that crying and hurting about their child just getting shot. And I remember that night looking up at my mommy out in the hospital, and she couldn't say a word. She didn't know what to do for her child. And and I thank God that I'm still here today after 4 gunshot wounds. And some guys are taking 1 bullet, and they're dying right there.
Absolutely. And a huge thing, you said some guys taking 1 bullet, and really a bullet don't know no name. So it can be aimed for anybody if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, yeah.
Anything can happen.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have that message, though.
Yeah, right.
They don't have that message that needs to be spread. So one and done versus four and more.
Yeah, you got shot 4 times. Any one of them could have taken you out.
Yes.
And to me, I don't want to get all biblical, but that means you had a purpose. You got a purpose. You got a purpose.
I'm sitting here on it.
Right, there you go.
I'm sitting here
Absolutely.
on it.
Absolutely.
This ain't no joke here. I'll tell this, I done rode from Augusta, Georgia, from Rock Hill back and forth to work, got stuck in the rain, in the traffic, and I'm here.
Absolutely.
I'm not giving up.
Definitely.
So I'm just saying to all the men and women, we need y'all now. We need to stand up. It can't be no preaching. It could be a lot of praying, but no preaching. We can't preach to a gangster.
Right.
He's not gonna listen.
They don't want to hear it.
Nope.
Dwight, thank you for joining. Dwight is chiming in. Dwight says, influence outside the home is real. And with that being said, I believe parenting goes beyond the walls of the home. Parents have to be careful with the company they keep as well as the company their kids keep. With that being said, growing up in Allendale, my parents, and truth be told, more so my dad Jimmy, kept me from a lot of trouble. I still did some dumb stuff, but with him pouring what he did in me kept me from so much more. Parents have to step up, but not just the parents, but the community as well.
Amen.
The kids have to make better decisions also. And and we talk about what I got from your message, Dwight, is the whole village. It takes a village to raise kids.
Right.
Like when we all came up, it wasn't just our parents, it wasn't just the people in our family. Anybody in our neighborhood would see us doing anything they know our parents would not agree with.
That's right.
They would shut us down.
That's right.
I had Miss Dukes right there on the corner. I had Jean Garvin right there, like they could see me, had Miss Willamay down the road. I had all them, like if they saw me doing anything, they were like, nah, Blythe don't agree with that.
That's right.
And they would already call her
right.
by the time I get home.
Right.
So I got my butt whooped as soon as I get home.
That's right.
And she wasn't even there.
Yes.
And I think a big issue here, a lot of what I see is a lot of parents were like, well, don't mess with my child. Don't bother my child. You can't do that to my child. And let's keep it real. Children aren't always right. We do a lot of things, like nobody's child is always right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right. And on that, speaking on that, parents, stop being their friend. You cannot be their friend. They ain't cool with you. If you want to be their friend, they're gonna curse you. They're gonna disrespect you. They're gonna want to smoke with you. They're gonna want to clean their gun in front of you. So you can't be their friend. Stop being their friend. That's the first thing. That's one thing I can say. My mom went wrong. She was cool with me. And she went wrong when she started being cool. She had to see herself for that. My dad wasn't there, but he would have been. But they went through what they went through. But she was cool and being cool with me. Yeah, two of them.
yeah, two. All right, guys, and continue. Make sure that you like the post. Make sure you continue commenting. And make sure you continue sharing. This is a really good dialogue in a clip. Again, I want to thank you for it because it takes a lot of strength to kind of come on. Because it's easy for us to talk about ourselves with the positive stuff we've done, but when you got controversial stuff or stuff that we're not so proud of in our past, it's really hard to talk about that. But I appreciate you for coming on and really joining in the dialogue. And Adrian Connor, Adrian says she was scared as hell of BMX. Yeah, I mean I wasn't because they were cool with me, so I was good. I ain't had no problems. All right, Carlos couldn't join us because he was doing the whole husband thing this weekend. So shout out to Carlos. Carlos says it's harder these days because kids have so much access to negativity. Social media and society has created a world where it's cool to sell dope, have sex, fight people, do drugs, etc. The job of raising good kids is harder because of it. I agree with that too, really to an extent, because kids nowadays are exposed to things we never had a chance to, because nowadays it's like we got all these videos where, and we just saw a video where in Estill County, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the guy clearly shot the police 4 times, and the police was doing his job. But again, I look back, I'm like, that's somebody, both of them are somebody's kid. So now, and I liken that simply because, like, when we have, luckily, they both survive. But the fact is, when you have situations where one person shoots another person, you're losing 2 lives, really. You're losing one because of death, and you're losing the other because of incarceration. And let's be completely transparent. Let's be completely honest. When it's one of us, really black people who commit a crime, we going down. Like if ands or buts about it. So and again, I don't understand it. And Cliff, maybe you can kind of help enlighten me. Like knowing knowing the repercussions, knowing what's gonna happen if you shoot somebody, you pretty much know either one or two things gonna happen. Either they gonna shoot you, or you going down for the crime. But like when, even though with knowing that, what kind of compelled you or people in your situation to still continue to go out and do some of those things, even with the parents saying, "Hey, now you know you're wrong."
And you know you got 25 years of life you can face. It's just when you commit to the street, it's a street code. Right now, that's why the kids don't tell, because they live by that code. They're never gonna tell. They can see this young man, woman laying over here dead. They're not gonna tell, because street code. That's what they live by. They do the drugs. The things they do today, I never seen in my life was the drugs now. But the gang banging, I've done. But with the drugs, I just tell you that that's an everyday thing. Life now. They live this thing where it's about them.
Right.
Ain't about no one else. No one else matters. Every hour you work at that job, the allowance you give them during the week, the car and the gas that they wear and tear, and the gas that they burn, none of that matters to them now. None of it. And that's why we have to build some unity here, people, so that we can come back and we can take these streets back. It's going to take effort. It ain't going to take one day, one person. We all got to come together, because there's different communities going through this every day. Death. Gunshots,
right?
Drugs. We ain't gonna be able to shut it down,
right?
But we can quiet it down,
right?
We can stand for it now. But if we sit here and continue to say that ain't my child won't do that, I ain't get them people crazy. I'm crazy too. I'm crazy too.
There you go.
I just look at it like this here, that straight bullet don't know no one, and I look at a lot of my friends and cousins and neighbors that's still there in these little small communities that they can't duck, because they're not shooting 38, 22, or 25 no more. Not even 9mm. Those guns are out the window now. So,
it's a new deal. It's completely different.
I can't name the guns they're shooting today.
And one thing you said to really hit home is you can't be your child's friend. All right, and I know you got a son in college right now, right? And really good athlete. I've seen him tote that rock. The boy's bad. How did you draw the line between being his friend and telling him, hey, this is what you need to do to get where you want to go?
He still get a beating. That's it.
Yeah.
I go in there and rough him up. I don't play with him. He's 6'3", 19 years old. I'll rough him up. That's it. Huh?
It's a grown man.
I'll go in there and rough him up. He know it.
Yeah.
Here you go. Hi, Vivian. What's going on, cuz? Thank you for joining, Vivian. Vivian says the life that you live is the influence they need to see more of education, going to work or building a business, and not going after the fast money life. That's a death trap. Cliff is the OG to snap the wannabe to reality that you are not about that life. And OG lived to tell the story. Yeah, and coming from where we're from, we can say that. Yeah, coming from Alabama, you the OG when I because somebody put up a post the other day. I think it might have been Eric. He was like, putting your pride aside. I think it was a few months ago. He was like, name somebody from Allendale that you knew not to mess with. And your name came up. Your name came up a lot. It was you. God bless the dead again, Joe Eady, who Lord knows everybody knows Joe Eady. Yeah, definitely. Bull Harley came up. A lot of OGs came up. And I sat there and thinking, I'm like, these are we talk about like in South Central and California and all these other places where they got the OGs. We got ours too, and the thing is though, but those of you like people like you and Bull and a lot of those other cats, y'all live to tell the story. And I think that, and I really wanted to bring you on, man. And when you reached out to me, because I was sitting here wondering, like, okay, like what can I really do to really hit home? Because again, the primary reason I talked about it was what happened in Allendale this week and what happens all the time.
Yes.
And that conversation on Darrell's post, it was talking about how much blame should the parents get. So when you and I talked, I was like, you know what, I got to get Cliff on simply because he had parents who cared about him. You had parents who cared about you.
Yes.
They wanted your best interest.
Yes.
But you still went out and you did certain things.
Yes.
But the fact is, now here you are. now you're living testimony, and you can go talk to these younger cats more easily than I can. They might look at me like, who the hell are you? Like because I can relate on certain terms. Like, and to your point, Viv, I can talk about the education piece. I can talk about going to college and all these other things. But the fact is, whether you go to school or not, like, you can become that positive example, and you can become successful.
Yeah, definitely. So we got to come together as a unity, like I said before, and be like they used to be back in the day. Regardless if you know they toting that gun, if you see them out there, go say something to them. Don't disrespect them. But that's how they used to do me. I was such a bad kid. And I can name the people that stayed in my face, always telling me to stop doing it. And eventually, I did. I put the gun down first. Then I just fist fight. Then I started fist fighting. And I gave it all up. Now, I can go to the street and be in the midst of some of these storms that I see going on, and I can cease fight. My word is my bond out there. Right. I'm still that G out there, but they're not afraid of me, but they respect me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what I'm working on.
Oh, no doubt. Stephen Jones, a.k.a. Chubb. I don't know why Chubb got a white man on me. All right, whatever. All right, so Stephen Jones says, we blame the parents for the kids acting up in the schools, but don't want to blame them for acting up in the streets. I believe that is 90% parenting. Show me a jacked up kid, and I show you either a bad parent or an absent parent, 90% of the time. We don't necessarily need two parents in the home, but it's important you have two strong parents actively involved. And I agree with that to an extent, Chubb. Like, you can have two parents. Like, I didn't have two parents in the home, but what I did have, luckily I come from, it's like 50 million of us in my family, and I had my older brother, I had my older cousins, and I had my uncles, and I had people in the neighborhood, like Richard Garvin, God bless the dead. Yeah. These are cats who like, if they saw me, they were in the streets.
Go home.
Yeah, if they saw me, hey, Lassa wouldn't want you out here. You need to take your ass home. Yeah. And it's like, and I would listen to them. I would respect them. But I'm glad that they actually did that. And I think that's a lot of what's missing now. Because the way it is now, to be honest with you, talking to a lot of people from where we're from, they scared of these kids.
Yes.
Because these kids are trigger happy.
Yes.
So like back in the day, we would fight and do these other things and and we'd be friends the next day. Yeah, but now they're shooting to kill.
They're shooting to kill.
They're shooting to kill. And again, and Chubb, to your point, I know Chubb, you said that it's 90% parenting. So you can go out and you can tell the kid, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you avoid trouble. This is what I need you to do. But then you get out and if you in that situation, spur of the moment, you never know, anything can happen. It's like you got to make a split second decision. It's either fight or flight. Am I going to fight? Am I going to run? Mm-hmm. Or what am I going to do to survive?
Mm-hmm. But I want to say something to everyone that y'all been using this thing about the police. I'm going to say this to you. They get up, they put their clothes on to go to work, just like you do. And if I was a cop, I'd be cautious about running up on someone that just killed someone. So when you say about they need to get in and solve some of these crimes, they trying. It's just a process because the street respect each other. They're not gonna tell. They're not gonna tell in the next town. They're not gonna tell in the next city. It's dead. If you don't catch it right then, it's dead. So you respect authority and the law. That they doing what they can do. Because I've been hearing a lot of stories about they ain't solved this murder. We got over 13 murders. You right. But what are we doing?
Right.
We expecting this guy to leave his home and fight the battle that we don't want to fight. We don't want to be a part of it. But he get killed out here. He died. Then,
his message up here.
Sorry.
Listen,
yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
So you looking for something out of nothing because he's just afraid of you of this kid or this man that has this gun. He's shooting 16 rounds, and you think I'm gonna go out here and run in front of this?
Yeah.
You're under arrest.
Yeah.
But you sitting home, reading the story.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna take my time too.
Right.
Because if they killed that person, they'll kill me.
Yeah.
So we got to respect the authority here and what they're doing, how they're doing it. Because I've never seen a town or a city have bad cops.
Yeah.
We make them bad sometimes. Some of them are bad, but I'm gonna take that back. Some of them are bad, but respect it. They trying.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. You know, like we sit here and read these stories, and we were like, the police should have did this, and they should have did that, and this. And if we're not living it, like how can it's easy to say, like it's almost like Monday morning quarterback. You know, when we watch football, we always say the quarterback should have did that. I mean, you didn't have a 300-pound lineman chasing you, so how can you have that split second reaction?
You talking about that, does it? You talking about somebody shooting?
Your quarterback sucks, man.
You talking about somebody shooting 100 rounds, and you telling me I got to run up on him?
Right, right. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to walk up on him. I can't run up on him.
I mean, I can say that from the comfortable confines of my bed.
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't out there.
Yeah.
All right. Kawanda Sanders. Kawanda says, our children are living in different times than we did. Our children don't have the influence in the neighborhood as we did. We still have the village, mentality. But the village is vacant. There aren't any more Mr. Morris Holmes, Mr. Jimmy Dixon, Mr. Vess Myers walking around the field with a stick. And you know and there was you just took me way back, Wanda. I'm telling you, because those are all named. These are guys, the older guys that we respected, and they supported us. It really was a lot of tough love that came along with that. And I don't see that now. Like now we should take up that role. You know, we're the ones now who are out there living lives. You can come at it from one angle. I can come at it from another. Yeah. But the fact is, we all got an angle that we can come from.
We punks.
Yeah.
For parents, we punks. Yeah. We see our nephew and nieces, our neighbor kids, our friend kids. We see them going through something. They ain't my kid. They ain't my business. It is your business. Make it your business. I ain't telling you to run in front of that gun, but if you see them later on, look, you don't have to do it that way.
Right.
You don't have to do it that way. And it don't take all that. That's why I say about ministers. I don't want to put ministers involved with this here. God knows they do the right thing, but at the same time, when you're dealing with the mindset that some of the young men has, you can't just put them in front of them.
Right.
You can't put the law in front of them. You can't put, like I said before, the town administrators and the mayor in front of them, because they're not going to respect that. So we as friends, parents, cousins, neighbors, we got to come and we got to build a bond around them.
Absolutely.
Of love. Not saying one word. That's my thing in September the 4th. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to build a bond around some of these young men and let them know we love them.
Right.
We're here for you.
Absolutely.
I know the battle is tough, the road is rough, but we're here.
No, absolutely.
What does it take for you to put that gun down and go this route here?
Yeah, definitely.
Talk to me.
So where's it going to be at September 4th?
I'm Morris Home Park in Allendale, South Carolina.
I was about to say, for people that don't know, Allendale.
Yeah, I mean, and we.
So it's in Allendale.
Yeah, I'm asking you to come to Allendale, South Carolina, Morris Home Park. Let's do something together. Let's put that. Bring your grills, bring your water, your meat, whatever you want to do. Grill. Let's just do this for. Let's start this for this community. Let us move to the next community. Let's start standing up for what's right and quit complaining and getting on social media and talking about each other. Because you can talk about me on,
So bring grills?
Grills.
I mean, he's got like 75 on. So.
Yeah, you can bring them all. You know what I'm saying? Bring some cooks so they can cook, so we can do something different. Because I want Fairfax and Allendale and Blackville and Barnwood and Hampton and Williston and Aiken and Columbia and Beaufort and Ridgeland. I want all to come together, right, and do something different and show these young men that they don't take that. That you're here in the midst of this thing here, and nobody has done nothing wrong to you. No one jumped on you, hit you, pulled a gun on you. We're eating from the same pot. See, just that's how you come at a gangster. You don't come at him trying to talk the word and tell him right from wrong. And parents, how you getting on them? You need to sit down and do this here. You can't do it that way.
Right.
You can't. You got to get on their level and walk that thing.
Right, for sure. And again, guys, make sure that you continue liking the post. Make sure that you continue make sure you continue commenting. Make sure that you continue sharing it. Again, this is great dialogue, guys. This is definitely a breath of fresh air. And again, I appreciate all the comments coming in. Stephen Jones is commenting again. He says, "I more so blame these sorry ass fathers for leaving the women to raise the children alone. Regardless if you're together or not, stay active and help raise your child. Those are powerful words, Chubb. And definitely for me, I know it definitely hits home. I didn't have an active fatherly presence in the home, and it does, believe it or not, it does affect you. Like there are things now that I'm having to learn on the fly. Like there are things about being a man that I don't know that I'm having to learn. Every single day I'm learning something new because I didn't have that father in the home to teach me and tell me how to do that. And I have people to show different things, but it's completely different when you have that in your home. So yeah, fathers, especially those of us of color, black men, if you got a kid out there, man, take care of your kid. Take care of your kid, and it's not all about finances. It's not all about providing for them financially. Obviously, it's going to take money to help raise that kid, but the kids are not going to remember how much money they spent on you, but they will remember how much time you spent with them.
Amen.
All right, Teresa Derrick. Teresa says technology has destroyed our children's ability to be creative. When I came along, you went outside to play, and you make up things to play with. Yeah, hey, we grew up. We played Billy B. That for y'all who don't know, Billy B is hide and seek.
Yeah,
but we played the MP.
Mom and Daddy.
Mom and Daddy. we played a lot. We played a lot of variations of hide and go seek, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Yeah, we played military police, MP military police, where really you had cops and robbers. The cops stayed back, counted to 10, 20. The robbers went to go hide, and when you found them, you just beat the crap out of them.
Hopscotch, double dutch. Yeah. Or
you can do like I did. Like when I was a robber, I ran straight home. So nah, you wasn't getting me. Not like that, bro. Not on my watch. Megan Moore. Megan says, I think the kids now are different than we were. They have no fear. They fear nothing. And say something to them nowadays can result in getting shot. You can be speaking to them from a good place, but they tend to feel disrespected and take matters into their own hands. Their mentality is all screwed up. So, what do you feel about that statement, Cliff?
No comment. That's the truth. That's it.
Completely different.
Well said. Mm-hmm. That's it. You can't comment on that. That's the truth.
Yeah, and things are different now. Like they're and to me, like with parenting, it never stops. Like I talk to my mom daily. I may go a day without talking to my mom. I call her on the way to work, and she's still my mama. So I don't care. I'm 41 years old, y'all, and like when my mama say something, I listen. I don't always like what she got to say, but it's coming from a good place, and I'd be damned if every time she tell me something, not to do it or to do it, it always comes to pass. Like she's never led me astray. I may not like it at the time, but I listen to her, and I love her dearly. That's truly my best friend. Yeah. And and there's something special about a single mom and their son, and really single and just moms and their sons and dads and their daughters. Like it's a completely different dynamic, right? Yeah, exactly. And and Megan, again, I really appreciate the comment, and you made a really good point.
Yes.
All right. Wanda Roberts. Wanda says, oftentimes the police can't make arrests without the community assisting them. People in the community, 95% of the time, has all the information on something that happens much quicker than the police can do, the incident report, and investigate, determines what happened. Yeah, I mean, if you... And this is for not only the parents but also people in the community. If you know something's going on and you know who's doing it, and I get sometimes we talk about you may know the person who did it, you may be related to the person, but at some point it's got to stop somewhere.
Yeah,
right.
We got to tell. We can't keep holding it because there's a lot of young men that's deceased behind this, and there's cases are unsolved. We got to start speaking on it. We got to. That's how we come together. But you got to be careful.
Definitely. And Shinda says, "What is the solution? We all know what the problems is. Everyone has stated here today. How do we fix it?"
Unity. We come together. We try. It starts from day one. We just lost one soul. 3 guys got shot. So let's stand up for our community. Quit sitting here on social media or at your home talking about it. Let's come together. Let's do something. Let's put our ideas together and let's build something here. And we start from there and we keep going. Yeah. And if it works in Allendale, we take it to Hampton, we take it to Bone, we take it to Williston, whatever. We go and support those communities and keep building this thing because they're not afraid of us, but we got to show them we're not afraid of them.
Right.
We ain't got to go ahead and pull the gun on them. We just stand. But as long as we doing it the way we doing it, it's no fun, no enjoyment. It's just straight up, they ain't my business. them people crazy. No, you don't want to hear that no more. We done heard that. We done sing that sad song. They are crazy, but let's be crazy with them. Let's just don't get in front of that gun, but let's stand for our community and build our communities back where they were.
No doubt. Policia says the citizens always complaining about when crimes are not solved, but yet they can see crime take place and won't talk. We have a lot of officers that don't even know half of the people in Allendale. A crime can't be solved until citizens step up and take a stand. We have to put fear behind and take back our community. If that happens to you and your child, you would want someone to step up. And really, you bring up what I was about to really get into, because the fact is like we are so reactionary. Like, we don't talk about it until it happens.
Yes.
Like, when it happens, we're like, oh, we need to stop this, and the crime is getting out of hand. But we got to be more proactive instead of reactive. Like, we got to jump out in front of it to try to stop it from happening. Because once it's not happening, it's too late.
It's too late.
It's entirely too late. So, and when we see these things going on, we have to get to the point where, you know what, we talk about street code and snitching and all this other stuff. We talk about innocent lives being lost, and really whether the lives are innocent or not. We're talking about, like, my man that got killed the other day. He's young 20s, early 20s. Young, got his whole life ahead of him. And really, I'm 41 years old, but I consider myself to be young, like, because I still got a lot of life left to live. And like, and the thing, like, growing old beats the alternative, dying young. So you want to get to that point, like and I commend you, Cliff, because you got a story to tell. And I really don't think you realize just how impactful your story is. Wow. It's inspiring, because I'm sitting here and you and I are virtually the same age, but like, I'm inspired simply because you overcame a lot. We all grew up, in the same, the same neighborhood, but the fact is, you went through things that I never experienced. Never. Like, honestly, until you told me that, I never knew you got shot 4 times.
4 times.
I never knew that, but you're here to talk about it.
That's right. Couldn't walk for 4 days. But I'm gonna say this here, that when she was asking that question, speaking on the about the community,
right?
We got to keep pressing this thing about, finding a way to get this information of these killers to the police, because I got some close relatives, kids, deceased, that been buried. Their case is still open, and we want answers. Right now, Elmo, his family's like my family, and we want answers.
Right.
We want that gunman. We want to make sure he don't take no one else's life.
Absolutely.
LaSharon's son, that's a great kid to me.
Yeah. People
have been getting on Facebook and they was tearing her up about her son. And I promise you, it's more of an accident for him than a purpose.
Right.
I promise you, he didn't intentionally try to kill someone, because he's not built like that.
Right.
He's not that person. So I ask y'all, social media, to give her a break. Give Elmo family a break. Give them a chance to moan.
Right.
Y'all got this stuff all over social media, and they know about it. Because you're not respecting them. You're not giving their family a chance to go through anything.
Right. And the worst thing you can do, like me being a parent, worst thing you can do is talk about my child. Like, it can be even the smallest thing, because that's, everybody is somebody's child. So I don't care how horrible a person you think they are. I don't care, what they did or what you think they did. There's a story behind everything, and really, like, and I couldn't get into the whole back and forth thing. I won't lie. I read the Darrell thread. I read the entire thread. I may have commented like once. It was a general comment, but I read and I was like, you know what? This would be a great topic to talk about, simply because we try to put all the blame on the parents, but it's unless you're going through it, you really don't know. You really can't say how you should and shouldn't deal with it.
Now, we can put the blame on the parent if he bought a gun or she bought a gun for her kid. If she did that, if she influenced her child to go out there and fight back with a gun, because my dad has been there, and I got in a fight with a guy, and over there behind Pinewood, if you fought one person in Allendale and Pinewood, you had to fight
the whole complex.
Yeah, so he was like, "Oh, you going back out there? You going back out there to fight it?" And I can see that happen, because you're just teaching your kid not to be scared and to fight back. So if he's a bully, he gonna stop. If she's a bully, she gonna stop. But if a parent is influencing their child to pick that gun up, if the next time he touch you, you shoot him, then we got to blame that pain.
Mm-hmm. And
I heard about the story of the 4 guys the other day, and I'm asking right here today that I'm sorry for all families, all those 4 families that's going through it, and I'm asking y'all to have peace among each other because everybody's going through something. Yes, 1 is deceased, 3 is shot, 1 is on the run, but they all are going through something. Because this is something that I promise you, not one of those parents want to happen. So, social media, please give them a break. Pray for them more than talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. And powerful words, man, for sure. Sheila says, I think one of the biggest challenges is trying to get the gangsters to gain some type of respect for another's life. They choose to take a life because of the lack of respect for a life.
Amen.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that's really not something I can really touch on simply because, like, I have no desire to take anybody else's life. I value life entirely too much. Do people do things at times that anger me? Absolutely. Are there people who don't care for me? I'm pretty sure they are, but I couldn't care less. And are there people out there who mean me harm? Quite possibly. But I have, obviously, I'm going to defend myself, but I have no desire to go out and end a life or take a life or anything of that nature, like at all. Miyoka says, I never said my child wouldn't do something, but by the time she was 4, I knew I was going to have to keep an eye on her. And parents, let's be honest, we know our kids.
We know I'm about to say.
We know our kids. Like if somebody can. I know Zoe's only 7, but somebody can tell me something about Zoe, and I'm like, that's her.
That's her.
She did it.
Yeah.
I already, you know your kids, and the fact is, what we need to realize is that no one's perfect.
That's right.
And one thing that I don't like, and you kind of touched on it earlier, is like condemning. They were condemning LaSharon and talking about she should have done X, Y, and Z. I'm sure she did a phenomenal job raising her child, and we can't really talk on what we should have done, what we shouldn't have done. He's a bad apple. I mean, that's something we really we don't have all the inside information, so we can't really talk about. But the point is, like, instead of pointing blame or pointing the finger, what do we do to make sure going forward to make sure our kids are at the level where they need to be? All right, so guys, make sure you continue liking, commenting, and sharing. You got a comment?
No.
You good? All right. All right, so guys, this was some really great dialogue. We got about a minute left in the show. Cliff, anything you want to end on?
I just want y'all to continue to pray for the families, pray for our communities. Let's come together, like I said before, and do something positive for these kids, these young men, to let them know that taking a life that's not right. A life for a life, because once we crack some of these, we break some of these murder cases, it's going to be a life for a life. And if you do know something about some of these murder cases that's unsolved, please step forward and tell, because we need to get this solved. If someone's around here killing and taking lives, they need to be taken care of. Because I'm an innocent person riding around, walking around, running. I like to run the streets, y'all know that. I'm a runner. And I don't want someone to open fire on me, because I know we had an incident in Allendale at the Dollar General. They just shooting right across the parking lot in front of everybody. No one life matter. They're just shooting right in front of everyone. Wow. So we have to step up. Yeah. Regardless of who they are and their capability, let's still step up and start putting forward, getting some of these murder cases solved. Thank y'all.
Oh, definitely. And again, Cliff, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
No doubt. And again, guys, I really appreciate it. Make sure you continue, and we can keep the dialogue going, even though we're about to wrap up. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you share. Chandra made a comment earlier. She was like, it takes a village, but the village is vacant. We need to make sure, that village is inhabited. So again, guys, thank you for joining. And again, I appreciate it. See you soon. Oh, by the way, before I forget, this will be my last Friday telecast. My nephew's football season starts next week, so I'll be finding another date and time to go live with you. So I'll let you know later on, early next week, how that's gonna go going forward. But again, guys, thank you for joining, and see you soon.
Wow, this is what we did. Yeah, man. Well, I be seeing seen something with it. That's what it be, really.
Yeah, back then. No, well,